Hello and welcome back here at OP Live Dallas. We are bringing you our second Power Talk of the day. This time it is from Geoff Moore, President and COO of the Dallas Fuel and Team Envy. He joined them this past July. Before that, he spent 18 years with the Dallas Stars and 5 years in Austin with their F1 program. And he's going to be helping us learn how to get your foot in the door for esports.
All right, thank you for, I'd like to start by saying thank you for coming here today. Obviously, Overwatch Day is going to be the biggest part of the weekend, and we appreciate your choosing to be here for this. Very exciting for us, the largest college Overwatch tournament to be held in the history of the world, and we appreciate you making this a success for us. So we're going to talk today a little bit about how to get your foot in the door into esports, and really it's going to be, from my perspective, more about how to get into sports or really any area of high demand interest that you have, which is, because I've been on both sides. I had to get into it myself 28 years ago, and then also I have a lot of people I talk to that want to get into it or get back into it after a period of time. So if we start with kind of being on how I got into it, I would say that I had a huge interest in sports, and a lot of people will talk about when you start looking at your career path when you're in college or even earlier, is that you should either go into something you have a big passion for, or you should do something that has a attractive economic path to it. And what I would say is, I would probably say, instead of just going into something you have a passion for, you just do something that you have a combination of a passion for and something you're good at. I would say that I had a huge passion for basketball as a child. And with this gene pool, I was not going to get off the floor in any way, shape, or form well enough to play basketball. So although I had a passion for it, I had no talent for it. So generally speaking, what I would say is that you have to find something that you're both good at and that interests you to give your best self to it, right? So obviously by your presence here today, you're interested in esports, gaming, things like that. And so you've already taken a first crucial step, which is to get engaged into it, because essentially you learn by doing, right? Like when we're looking on the other side of the desk at people that we want to invest in to come work for us, we're looking for people that have skills, right? We're looking for people that can dedicate themselves either through their effort and their availability, and we can teach them what to do, or that they already come prepackaged with some skill, like for instance, marketing movies and things like that into a local marketplace. Or we're looking for people that are architects in the sports and entertainment world, and they can transition that into how that might work for us in sports. So we're looking kind of on the younger side of the scale for people that have been actively engaged and have some level of insight that they can offer us. And then we're looking for people that have skill sets that have been defined, that they can bring something to the table from their area of expertise. So if we start with young people, I would say that just playing the game isn't enough, right? Like when you come in and you have an interview with someone and they're saying, tell me why you want to do this, the thing they're really asking you is, tell me why you're going to solve my problems, right? Because frankly, my job as the president of a team isn't to make your dreams, your career dreams come true, right? That's not my job. My job is to make our organization successful. And so I know that there is a level of opportunity and problems that we have, and we have a limited amount of time and money and focus that we can expend to solve those problems or take advantage of those opportunities. And when you come in and talk about how much you love this, that's good, but it's not necessarily solving my problems, or our organizational problems. So what you have to prove is how you can help us in that regard. And so if you're telling me that you've had a lifelong interest in doing this, what I want to see is, I want to see proof of that, right? I want to see that you have engaged in esports in the high school level. You started a club there at your high school. You did that in college, that you have done it as a hobby, that you have volunteered for an event such as this, or gotten paid to work at an event such as this, because all those things give you some level of experience that then can help you create insights for us to make things better for fans of future events that we have, right? Or we have specific issues and opportunities that we need people with specialized skills, like Liam Neeson. If we ever need someone rescued or killed, we would go to Liam Neeson because he has those skills. But if we need a building designed, we have to go to people who have exhibited skills and have proof on their resume that they've designed kind of high quality, great fan experiences and facilities that they've done. Or if we go to look at marketing people, we want to find people that have exhibited successful behavior in that regard at other things. So if you want to get into a space and there's a barrier to entry, then you have to figure out how do you overcome that barrier, right? What makes you unique and special? And everyone has something that makes them unique and special, even if it's just their effort or the fact that they could be an apprentice and forego, kind of a lucrative first job, which is what I did. So when I was young, I was just out of graduate school, I had 2 job opportunities. One was a pretty good paying job, and the other one essentially was minimum wage. And I chose the minimum wage job because honestly, I was poor and my family had gone bankrupt, and so I wasn't used to having any money at that time. And so it didn't bother me to have no money for another year of my life. And I thought I would take the opportunity to essentially work for free in a space that I cared about passionately and see if I could make it. And then if I couldn't, I would go back and take the other job, and live my life. So what I did was I made kind of a bet, a gamble, an investment to get into the space, and it turned out to be great for me, right? Because the people I worked for were passionate about what they're doing, and I worked for a place called the Dallas International Sports Commission, which was a nonprofit sports economic development group, and we worked on bringing the World Cup to Dallas in 1994, and then relocating the Minnesota North Stars in 1993 to Dallas. So I got hired as the first employee of the Dallas Stars in 1993 because I had, I was there, right? Like I was one of the few people who was there on the ground, intimately involved in the project because, because I'd made that investment in time and taken that risk to be there. So my advice to you would be that you should work on your skill set, right? You should work on, if you want to get into marketing or communications or anything like that, you should work on your skill set. Like how do you communicate professionally? How do you present yourself? What is your research that you've done on the industry? How can you present yourself as someone who at least knows the right questions to ask? Because if you walk into an interview and you're waiting for them to do the work, then you've lost. If you are already working for a company and you're waiting for them to give you a professional development program, you've already lost, because you are in charge of you, right? You are your own product and you are your greatest advocate for it. And as a president of a team, if you're not passionately behind your own development, then why should I take that burden on, right? Like I want to help people that are already great at what they do and are helping themselves, right? I don't mind being supportive, but I want people who are passionately out for themselves and their development. Does that make sense? Bueller, is everyone asleep now? Okay. Can we take like maybe 1 or 2 questions before I end this? Yeah?
How'd you get all of this started, like Envy in Dallas? Like, how'd you get that going?
Well, I did it the old-fashioned way, which is I let someone else do it. So our founder and CEO is a guy named Mike Rufail, and he essentially in his free time became one of the best Call of Duty players in the world. So then when he would go online to play, he couldn't find anyone to play with because it'd all drop out of the game as soon as he showed up. So he had to go find these high-end tournaments where he could actually play. And then as a 21-year-old and a group of 16-year-olds, he formed a team because he had a checking account, a driver's license, he could book hotel rooms, and he was an adult, and he saw the future, which is we should put these guys together, and we should travel around the world and make money playing this game. So he was a pioneer in the field. But just like when you see a rocket on a launch pad getting ready to go into space, this is the only part that goes into space, right? All the rest of it is fuel that propels it. So Mike is this piece, right? And all the rest of it are investors and people who've worked there and players and all those things, right? So when you have something like this, which is pretty cool, you've got the trade group, which does all the exhibits. You've got agency, which is a sales force agency that puts this on. You've got our team, which has been in existence for 12, 13 years, and has hardworking guys like CJ taking pictures. He's trying to find the right angle to make me look skinny. He's going to be working hard at that for a while now. He may not be that smart. He may not have that type of lens. I don't know. But he's kind of given a lot of his life to working in production and marketing for a company like this. Moved here to Dallas when the team moved here. So there's a lot of people that you may never meet that have a deep passion for this, and they've essentially invested themselves into it to make this work. So you'll never go to a place like this and see anything that one person did, right? Success has many fathers and failure's an orphan, right? And the reason for that is if you want to be successful, there's a whole lot of people that had to contribute. And when something fails, people look for one scapegoat to say why it failed, right? So if you want to be a part of this, the first way to do that is to find a way to be a part of this, which is usually to volunteer, right? Because then what happens? Then you start meeting people, right? And so that helps your professional network as you start meeting people and they start knowing you, and they can realize that you're someone who's reliable, who'll show up early, who'll ask what he can do to get things done and wants to be a part of it. And then what will happen is they'll start taking an interest in you. They'll start to ask you, well, tell me your name again, where are you going to school, what are you studying, what do you want to be a part of? And then you start telling them what you want. But the first thing to interest them in you is you have to solve one of their problems, which is you have to be a reliable volunteer that helps them do things in the right way. And then once you've made that, then the transaction kind of pivots, and now they start taking interest in you. Does that make sense? And then as they can give you, subtle advice on, okay, well, make sure you finish, get good grades, finish your degree, because then that shows that you've achieved a certain level of production and you're reliable, and you can set a goal and can finish it. And then they're more likely to hire people they know. And why is that? It's because they want to get rid of barriers, right? And so if they trust you because you've been reliable by volunteering for the organization for 2 years while you're in college, then when this position opens up that you're qualified for, they'd rather take less risk by hiring someone they know doesn't, not show up, and someone who can work and play well with others and things like that. Because when you post a job, there's literally, like my wife is sitting right here and she's worked for the National Basketball Association. Whenever she'd go ask for a raise, the guy would pull out a drawer of resumes and say, there are literally 1,000 resumes right here of people who want your job. So that means she didn't get the raise, by the way, if you're wondering how that went. But then when one of the guys she worked with moved to Dallas to work for the Mavericks, he wants to bring her because he knows her and he knows she's good and she knows there's no risk. He knows there's no risk if he brings her, right? And so then I meet her and looked at her resume and thought we should hire her for different reasons. It was a risk reward thing too, but we're going to talk offline about that. Anyway. All right, I'm not going to hit the snooze on this timer. I'm going to just end this talk now. But I will be around out front over at our booth if anyone has any follow-up questions they want to ask or introduce themselves or whatever. Again, thank you for coming. And unlike my daughter's friend last night who said he's a Houston fan, which I almost crawled through her text message and choked him out. We want all of you to be Dallas Fuel fans, right? We know this thing's pretty new, but we want you to be Dallas Fuel fans. We appreciate your support, and we want to be the sort of experience you can invite people that you care about to, and we can make the whole thing grow and be great together. All right, thank you.